Hi, this is Pauline from MotherBunch Crochet, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make the Lola String bag. It's the latest pattern that I've released on my blog. So I recommend that you go to the blog and get the written pattern to follow along with. So this video is designed to be complementary to those instructions rather than standalone. So this is what the finished bag is going to look like, and the materials that you're going to need are some 8-ply or DK weight cotton. You can use up to like a worsted weight or 10-ply cotton if you prefer it a bit thicker. Today I'm going to use the Flinders 8-ply cotton, which you can buy from Spotlight easily, and a 5mm crochet hook. A tape measure is handy and some scissors as well. So once you have everything ready, we'll get into the pattern. So we're going to work this from the center outwards, making a square, and then the edges are gathered in to make the bag shape. Okay, so to start with, make a slip knot. And then we're going to chain 10. And we want to join this to form a circle. So if you know that you chain very loosely, you might want to reduce this to a chain 8 so that that starting circle isn't too big. So we're just slip stitching to the first chain that we made. Pull that tight. So now you can see that we have a ring that's going to that we're going to work into in the first row. So to start with, we need to chain 6, and this is going to count as our first treble. So that's a US treble or a UK double treble, and chain 3. So now we're going to do 2 trebles working into that loop that we formed. So we need to yarn over twice, put the hook just through the center of that loop, and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over through the next 2 loops, yarn over and through the final 2 loops. And that's our first treble. That's a US treble or a UK double treble formed. And so the whole netting section will just be worked in those trebles and chains, or double trebles if you're using UK terms. So we'll do a second one here. So we've got 2, and so now we need to do a chain 3, and we're going to repeat that 6 more times. So we need 7. We'll have 7 repeats of this: 2 trebles, chain 3. So just go ahead and work those into your center of that loop. Okay, so you can see we're getting, if I put it down, it'll be easier to see. We've got repeats of 2 trebles together, chain 3, 2 trebles. And just go ahead and keep working those until you have 7 of those repeats. Okay, so we now have 7 repeats of those 2 trebles worked together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. and I've done finished with a chain 3. And now what I'm going to do, so remember this starting chain was one of our trebles, counted as one treble, so we're going to do one more treble here, and then join with a slip stitch to the 3rd chain. So 1, 2, 3, and then another slip stitch into that chain 3 space. And so if I lay it down flat, you can see it's a little bit wonky at the moment, but it will come together. So we've got 8 of these chain 3 spaces, and so in the next row we're going to start making this into a square. So if you stretch it out like this, you can see it looks like a square. So we're going to, in the corner spaces, do 3 trebles, chain 3, 3 trebles, and then in these side bits it'll be a chain 3 here and 3 trebles. And so in the next corner we've got 2 lots of these 3 treble, chain 3, 3 treble. So we'll go ahead and start that row, and it should make more sense. So we're starting the row with a chain 3, which counts as our first treble, and then work 2 trebles back into that same space. So that's our first 3 trebles. Do chain 3 and another 3 trebles into that same space. Okay, so chain 3, so it's always going to be chain 3 between the trebles, and then do our next cluster of 3 trebles into this next space. Okay, chain 3 again, and so now we're at the next corner, so we need to again do 2 lots of the 3 trebles into this space. And chain 3 and another 3 trebles into the same space. Okay, so if we lie this down and have a look at it, you can see it's starting to form the square shape. Might make a bit more sense now. So we've got our corner, side, corner. So we're going to repeat that same pattern around. So we're doing 3 trebles here, 2 lots of 3 trebles in this one, 3 trebles, 2 lots of 3 trebles, 3 trebles. So go ahead and repeat that pattern going around, and I'll show you how to join at the end of the row. So I've nearly finished my square. Once you flatten it out, you can start to see the shape. So I need to do another chain 3 before I join here, and then I'm going to join to the 3rd chain in that starting chain 3. Okay, And then our next row, we want to be starting from this chain 3 space, so you need to just slip stitch across each stitch, so 1, 2, 3, so that you end up in that chain 3 gap, and that will be the end of our row. So 1, 2, 3 slip stitches across, and then that's the end of the row. And if you stretch it out, you can see the square shape starting to take form. So we're going to repeat that pattern again that we just did. So we'll start with chain 3, and then we'll have 2 clusters of the 3 trebles in the corner space, chain 3, 3 trebles, chain 3, 3 trebles into this gap. And then in the corner again we have the 2 clusters of 3 trebles. So we'll just start that first row, first side of the row. So there's my chain 3 counting as the first treble. Two trebles into that same chain space, chain 3. And then again we're going into the same chain space to do our corner, and we do 3 more trebles there. And then as always we're doing chain 3 before the next cluster of trebles, which will be in the next gap across. Okay, so then chain 3 again, and 3 trebles into the next gap across. And chain 3. And then we can see the next gap is our corner space, so we need to work 2 of the clusters of trebles into this chain 3 space. So that's our first cluster done. Always chain 3 in between the clusters. Treble. Okay, so that's our second corner finished. Spread it out. Let's get that tail out of the way. So you can see we're increasing the number of these chain 3 treble repeats on each row. So the first one we had one cluster of the trebles between the corners, so on row 3 we've got 2 clusters of the trebles, and our corners always worked into the corner from the previous row. We have the 2 clusters together, and it starts to form this square shape. So you can keep working around, and we'll come back at the end of this row. So now that we're up to that final cluster of trebles, and I've done my final chain 3, just like the previous row, we need to join with a slip stitch to the 3rd chain of that starting chain, and then slip stitch across 1, 2, 3 till we get into that chain 3 space. just going to redo this chain because it went a bit tight at the end. So slip stitch into here, and then a slip stitch into the top of those next two trebles, and a slip stitch into the chain 3 space, because that's where we're going to start our next row. So you can see the square shape is really starting to form now, and it should be about 15 centimeters across. So you can go ahead and just keep working. All of the rows are going to be worked in exactly the same way. You're just repeating that 3 treble, chain 3, repeat the whole way around, and making sure in the corners you do 2 of the treble clusters. So keep going until you've got 13 rows, or it's about 55 centimeters across. So if your tension is quite different to mine, you might want to stop a row earlier or do an extra row to get it to about 55 centimeters. So I'll do a second part to the video to show how you gather in the sides and form the handles. But that's the basic part of how to do the netting, so go ahead and keep finishing your netting.